I'm Dan Buckley. I work for Cambridge Education. I've been working on transforming schools for a number of years, and in 1999 set up one of the first school environments where every child had a laptop computer for all of their working internet linked. I've also won a number of national awards in the UK for secondary leadership and for teaching. Over the last few years, I've been trying to grapple with the issue of how we create schools that are capable of delivering some of the rhetoric that you hear in a lot of these contexts around student empowerment and students actually taking control of their own learning and managing their own creativity. So I'll take you through some of that work. First, I'd like to ask you a couple of questions, if I could. The first one is, how long do you believe, in years, how long before every child in India, every single child in India, has access to the internet whenever they want it? You just think for a moment, please, and if you have a pen, write it down so you don't forget. Give me your own estimate. What do you think? How long is it going to be before that is a statement that I can stand up here and say is true? You may want to bear in mind the internet itself is about 16 years old now. Public internet didn't exist 16 years ago. Okay, that's our first question. The second question really is quite similar, which is, how long before every child in India has the means to express themselves using video and upload that to the internet? Okay, that's an inclusivity, every single child. How long is that going to be? You may. Now, I'm guessing, really, and you may tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm guessing that none of you wrote the word never on your page. All of us believe firmly, we wouldn't be here today if we didn't believe firmly that both of those are a reality. Now, I'm not going to debate whether it's in 1 year, in 5 years, in 35 years, but the fact that it's a reality is probably not in contest. Okay? Tell me in the questions whether I'm wrong with that. The third question really is a more important one. How long is it going to take us to transform the schools in which these children are learning to be able to make use of these devices, to be able to make use of these ways of working? Now, if I was to estimate that, I would estimate that the third question would take longer than both of the other two. I think that the transformation process of schools is a much harder issue than actually access to the internet. Now, the question then is, well, we're already behind time, so how should we be transforming schools now in order to get them ready for the time when this occurs? If we gave every single child an internet device tomorrow, schools wouldn't be able to cope. They'd probably ban them, as they did in the UK initially. So, the transformation of the teacher-student and student-student relationship is an urgent piece of work. This doesn't require new technology. It requires vision and leadership. The vision, fairly simple. We probably all agree where the end point is, what we want. We want every single child in India to make a positive contribution to their society, to be a skilled entrepreneur, creating wealth, be able to work in teams, understand their social responsibility, compete globally, be creative, a problem solver. These are all things that we want. And personally, we want them to enjoy life and be part of the cultural heritage, to actually create a society that's something that they enjoy living in and others enjoy living in. So we're clear on where we want to be. There's no real question. The question is how we use ICT to get us there, or rather to accelerate the way there. Now, the OEDC says there are 3 routes. I'd say there are probably 2 routes for us to get there. One is that we invest our technology and our training and our resources in the teachers. That actually we use the teacher to personalize the learning for the child. That's one very, very definite route that we could take. The second route is that we actually use the ICT to create freedom in the system, so that children actually don't have to learn at the same pace, in the same location, the same material. They actually can learn in different ways and co-construct knowledge themselves, actually without the use of traditional structures, school structures. Those are two alternative routes. And if you define what those routes mean, you can see that in some respects they're mutually exclusive. Now, a lot of the rhetoric and a lot of the futures thinking that is presented talks about the P route. It talks about children at the heart of education, children being creative, children having choice of approach and choice of learning style, producing media, creating knowledge. And yet a lot of the structures that we're promoting actually promote the T route. So we may be investing in the T route, hoping to get to the P route. I think there's an issue there that we need to actually think, well, which way are we going? Is it one or is it the other? And the structures we put in place now will be very different between the two. To take a clear example, in the T route, it requires mainly teachers to produce content. Teachers have an issue with producing content. Together with the day job, that's quite a bit of an ask. You're also asking them to produce content in some areas where they may not have expertise, certainly if you're widening the curriculum. You're asking them to produce content for visual learners when they may be kinesthetic learners themselves, or auditory content when they may be other forms of learners. You're asking this human being, or set of human beings, to be all things to everybody. It's a difficult position to be in. The P route looks at it another way, and it says if you give the rights and the abilities for the individuals to create content as they're creating knowledge and share that content, the user-generated community, then actually you're going from the number of teachers you have innovating in India to the number of students that you have innovating in India. Now, the second model is what Web 2 is all about. The second model is why blogs and wikis and all of these sites are expanding at the rate they are. Because actually, the internet is about setting free individuals to actually show what they're capable of independently. P route is about the students producing their knowledge and sharing that knowledge and producing the content. It gets rid of some of the requirement to produce content. In the UK, we've wasted an enormous amount of money on content. We're only now beginning to start changing that investment into tools that allow the individuals to create the content. So, some models. Example one, if we seriously have to start the process now, in whatever context we are, we need models that actually respond to situations where there's no technology. We have to have a model that works in that scenario and in one that is technology rich. Here's just some examples of technology-free implementations of 21st century learning. One is called Room 13, quite an inspirational school that actually gave over a room to its students. They were bothered by the fact that students were finishing work early and the teachers were giving them extension work, which was basically the same work but a bit harder. So they took a radical step. They decided to